In this video, I'm going to show you how to do this really awesome camera spin effect inside of Adobe After Effects. So let's get into it. So of course, the easiest way to do this effect is to do it practically. So you grab your camera, and as the person does their flip or they go upside down, you rotate the camera at the same time. The problem is though, the timing of this can be very difficult to get perfect. And when you're spinning a larger camera around, it can get a little bit difficult to get all the way around because your arms will get twisted. So rather than shooting it practically, we can fake it inside of Adobe After Effects. And in order to do this, you just need a static shot of somebody doing a flip or a jump where they rotate upside down. Now, once you've got this footage, we can just drop this into Adobe After Effects and we can begin the process of creating this really awesome fake 360 spinning camera move. So as you can see, we are inside of Adobe After Effects and we've got our backflip layer imported into our project. So this is where we want to do the camera move. So first and foremost, you first just want to go through to the point when you're just about to take off in the air, so about here. As you can see, this is where I start to go back. So this is where the camera move would start. So at this moment in time, we're going to go into the settings here. So we'll select the drop down arrow, go into transform and create a brand new keyframe on position, scale and rotation. Then we'll go through to the end of the flip. So to the point where we land back on our feet, so around here. And we're just going to do a full 360 degrees. Now, if you play this back, you'll notice that has gone the wrong way. It ends up looking like we've done a double backflip. So that's where we need to go back on ourselves the other way. You would think it was to go this way, but we need to go the opposite way. So that is negative 360. Let's play this back. There you go. That works perfectly. Now, generally what I like to do with this effect is to move the position of the flip into the center of the frame. So I'm going to go through to the end of that flip. So to the point where I land back down on the ground, I'll nudge this one over and I'll create a new keyframe on position. Then halfway through that action, you can see we're in the center of the frame, but I'm going to turn the proportional grid on to help with that positioning. And I'm just going to nudge the position over every single frame. So I'm just going to nudge this down to here. And as you can see, if we turn that proportional grid back off and we play this back, you can see that looks really cool. I'm staying within the frame in that entire time. The problem is though, the obvious massive problem is we can see all of this happening around the outside of the frame. So in order to fix that, we want to go into effects and presets and search for motion tile. We'll drop the motion tile onto the video and you want to go into the output width and pull this up to 300. You want to change the output height to 300. And then you want to select mirror edges. And now when we go through it, you'll see all of those edges have now been filled in. So this is the effect off and this is the effect on. Essentially what this effect has done is it has duplicated the video on every single side and then mirrored that so that you can't quite see where the edge of the frame is. Now, obviously, if I played it as it currently is, it's very easy to tell that this is a duplicate or a mirror because you can see myself. But when we add some motion blur into this, that really does help to hide this effect. And to add motion blur, all we need to do is go into toggle switches / modes to get this menu. You'll see this icon here, which is motion blur. You want to enable motion blur and then make sure this button here is blue. And then when we play this back, you'll notice you've got this really awesome rotating camera effect now happening around this backflip. Before we carry on with this video, I first just want to take a brief moment to talk about the Brooker Films Skillshare courses. And in particular, I would love to talk about the Introduction to Adobe After Effects course. So if you're new to Adobe After Effects, or if you just want a refresher on the program, then this course is perfect for you. The link to that course and all of my other courses are in the description below. Now, back to the video. Of course though, because this camera move is so quick and because there is so much motion blur, it's kind of difficult to see the person doing the backflip here. So if we play this back, you see there's just a big blur and that doesn't look great. So to fix this problem, I'm just going to duplicate this layer. I'm going to turn the motion blur off on this layer. Then I'm just going to draw a mask around the center of the frame. And as you can see, because we're in a rotation here, that's going to look a bit weird. So I'm just going to put this in its own pre-composition. So I will go layer, new solid, create this solid, put this underneath this layer. We'll turn this off, highlight that top layer and that solid layer, right click, and let's pre-compose. The reason why I've added that solid in, by the way, is because if I don't add the solid, then all of the keyframes are carried over into this pre-composition. But if I add a solid in, you get a clean slate. So this means when I add this ellipse mask back in over the top, that is not going to animate. It's just going to stay put. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We'll create a circle ellipse in the center of the frame where the bat flip is taking place. So where all of the action is taking place, and then we'll go into the mask and we'll increase that mask feather all the way up to the point where it now blends back in with the frame. So again, if we render this out and we play this back, you'll notice you've got this really awesome rotating camera effect now happening, and we haven't lost the quality or the focus of the person doing the flip. The rest of the frame is blurring, but it's just the center of the frame is now in focus and we can see the person doing the flip nice and clearly. Now at the moment, the problem with this effect is it just suddenly starts and it suddenly stops. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into it. So I will rotate the opposite way, go into it, and then when we come back around, we'll rotate back across to have a natural movement coming back into position rather than snapping into the final position. So maybe half a second before the action starts, we'll create a keyframe arm position scale rotation. Then as I swing my arms back, we will rotate forwards. So we'll rotate around this way. And as you can see, because I've got that pre-comp on top, I need to go in and do the same on the pre-comp. But we'll just turn that top layer off for now. And in fact, I'll turn the motion blur off for now just to help with the rendering. So when we play this back, you can see that little bit of intervention there, that small go back and then snapping back into the action really helps to warm us into that. And if you wanted to, you could convert these first set of keyframes to easy ease keyframes just to add a little bit of softer animation there. There you go, that looks great. And then we can do the same thing as we land. So we'll land, we'll overcook that a little bit. So we go into positive 16, positive 13, somewhere around there. And then we'll take half a second to get back into the normal resting position. And again, you can convert those last set of keyframes to easy ease keyframes to create a soft animation at the end. And you'll notice this now feels a lot more natural. Of course, at the moment, you can see it's stuttering here. So what we're going to do is we'll get rid of this keyframe here, the 0, and we'll pull that around to a negative 13 so that it over rotates as I land. And then it takes a second to get back to 0. So there you go. I land on negative 13 and then it takes half a second to go back to 0. So you've got a little bit of rotation the opposite way. Then we flip and then we rotate a little bit the other way to create this nice pendulum effect. And I think that looks a lot nicer and a lot more natural. Of course, though, we need to copy this movement over to the other layer. So we'll highlight all of those keyframes and go Command C or Control C to copy. Make note of where that starting keyframe is. So exactly 24 frames. We'll get into Pre-Comp 2. We'll go into Transform. We'll delete all of those keyframes and go Command V to paste those all in at 24 frames. And when we go back, we can turn this top layer on, turn the motion blur back on. And there you go. Once you render this out and you play this back, you'll notice you've got this really awesome rotating 360-degree camera move. And there you go. Thank you ever so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate your support, and hopefully I will see you on the next video. See you there.